if the idea is that you don't want to rush something, but you do want a level out, you have to be persistent with projects over a long period of time. And
I don't
for
do this.
me, for me, my example of that is Space Invaders, because that level isn't out yet, and it's not going to be out for a very long time. But I have been consistently on and off with that level, and I've been consistently on and off with projects in this game for the past like 7 years now. For I guess it was 8, because I'm counting the 7 years that 2.1 was out, and the 1 year that 2.2 was out. So dang, 8 years. But I have made so many projects that have taken so much time to get done. The entirety of Better Than Reality took about a year to get all those levels done.
That was peak. That was actually so peak.
That series came out in 2020, and I think about that. That's 4 years ago.
Gosh.
That series came out 4 years ago. that was such a cathartic feeling, getting all of those things done, and then being like, okay, I can stop for a moment. I've been consistently on all of these levels for this long. I can chill. It is difficult. It is why Levolution became a thing, I think, because one of the most difficult things that you can do is not drop a level. That's the most difficult thing that, like, every creator does, is you open a level, you put down a couple ideas, and then you close the editor, and you're like, alright, I'm never touching that thing ever again.
Yeah.
And everybody does it, I do it, all of my friends do it, every single person I know that creates does that.
It's normal. It is very normal.
It's absolutely normal to pick up a level and then never touch it again. And finding the motivation to actually work on those levels is really, really hard. The only thing that has really kept me going when working on a level and like really wanting it done is showing it to friends.
I was just about to bring this up after like what you were just about to say. I think I know what you're gonna say.
I actually don't know if you do know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say though. Getting that group of friends and continuously showing them the progress that you're making and getting feedback or just getting positive reimbursement on what you're doing has been one of the strongest pieces of motivation for me to continue finishing stuff.
Wait, that's the complete opposite of what I thought you were gonna say.
Well, what did you think I was gonna say?
I read about creators all the time. Dude, I make something, I show my friends, and then I get like adrenaline of having something be shown and people saying it's good, and then they stop working on it. Either because of pressure that they're not gonna like top it, or just because they've released part of it, right? Like they've previewed it and people have seen it, so it's like, okay, well, I gotta completely restart the creative process now, or like something along those lines. I feel like personally that kind of like progress, like showing your friends stuff, it can either be the best thing that ever happens to you as a creator or the worst. And I don't know, I feel like when I start a level, I upload a video, I'm like, okay, that's like part of it done. You know, that's like part of the fun of making a project for me is like done, is the fact that, okay, people have seen it. Like it's no longer something that I'm going to be like working on behind the scenes because it's kind of already out there now. So it's interesting how there's like two sides of a coin there.
I think what it is, when I show this group of friends the stuff that I'm doing, it's different from showing a larger audience what I'm doing.
I see.
And so because of that, when I show my friends what I'm doing and I talk about like plans on release, or I talk about how I'm showcasing this to my audience, it's a different kind of release when I show them that.
I see.
Because I'm kind of telling people what my plans are instead of showing people and then feeling like, well, I've shown people and now I have to reevaluate what I'm doing for the rest of this because I have to top what I've previously shown people.
Oh.
I've shown a very, very small percentage of the people that could possibly see what my project is. And because of that, there's so many more people that haven't seen anything that I'm doing at all, or haven't heard of any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so because they haven't heard of any of this, that's a million new people who will get to experience the thing that you showed your friends that do think that it's cool for the first time.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
because of that, I now really want to finish what I have so that that group of people that haven't seen anything that I'm doing will get to eventually see what I'm doing.
I think you just
And it's the
solved
kind
some
of,
of
like-
my... This is like a therapy session all of a sudden where I've I've told you about an issue. You've made me like recontextualize, like change my...
Reevaluate.
Yeah, reevaluate everything I was just saying.
I get encouraged when I show friends stuff and they really like it. And to some people who don't build, I feel like that is like a, yeah, obviously people say that they like it and then you get happy. But I do understand showing people something that you've done and not being able to work on it and feeling disappointed because you haven't been able to continue that kind of trend that you were going on. And like your friends may be kind of sad that something that they liked isn't going to be released. I had a lot of doubts after Dioma came out, where I was like, dang, this was a level that I actually did feel pretty proud of, even though I know that there could have been some stuff that was different. Ultimately, I was pretty proud of it, but there is just so many other creators who have topped me on this one, and for the results of it, I was like, dang, there are so many good ones, I have to step up my game. A lot of creators look at themselves like that, and they look at the projects that they're making right now, and then they look at like the most recently legendary thing, or like at Mythic or whatever, they get discouraged. They look at that stuff and they're like, I need to step up my game, or I'm not going to be that good.
It's sometimes me.
The ideas that I have in my head I can't put down on paper are definitely roadblocks and that kind of stuff, and that you get a lot of brain fog during the creative process from looking at other people's stuff and comparing it to your own. I don't think that's a bad thing, to look at somebody else's project and feel discouraged of your own. I think that it can inhibit your ability to get something done, as it has stopped a lot of people that I know from finishing projects that they have wanted to work on. But that is kind of how the competitiveness of the creating scene like works.
Do you have creators that you feel like are competition to you, where it's like, okay, you just dropped a sick level and now I am gonna make a sick level? With 2.2 and like effect levels being kind of not gentrified, but like made easier with triggers and stuff like that, I do see things that would be similar to my 2.1 style, let's say, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to make a level that's like cooler to like prove myself still, if that makes sense. I know it sounds so douchebaggy to call it competition, but I feel like it's a thing.
There is, in a sense, you could call it competition.
Yeah, it's not a good name for it, or it's not a good word for it at all.
That's the thing is, even though it is ultimately, I think, a competition, I don't see it as one. Because I don't really care to compete, I guess, for it. Like, I want to do things that impress people. And I have people that we have similar styles, and we swatch off of each other, and we try to do the next cool thing in that particular style, but I don't necessarily consider ourselves competitors. It's more of a collaborative effort in that I don't think any of us in any way, because a competition to me is you're willing to triumph over others.
Yeah, I don't feel like anything
put
is that
others
way,
down for
just to
that.
clarify.
I don't think anything is like that. No, I don't think any of the creating community is doing an attempt to put others down for your own benefit, or stealing from others, or taking ideas. There hasn't been any of that I've seen from other people. It's just been positively building off of what other people have set precedent, or what other people have shown as like techniques. So people take those techniques and they use it for their own stuff, and I don't think people discourage that kind of thing.
Yeah, you put it in a much better way than I did. I sounded almost like evil.
To prove yourself in the kind of group that you're in is difficult. Not saying like specifically you, but just like in general, proving yourself in a category that you put yourself in. Like I would say you're effect creators or strange glowy take on like modern stuff. That's the kind of group of people that you're competing against. That's not necessarily a competition though. You just have other people that you need to prove that you are consistent with.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to say it. It's difficult standing out sometimes. I'm building something pretty basic, like anyone could do this. At least for me, like I always wanted to do different things, if that makes sense. And then I see people do different things better than me. And I'm like, man, I wish I was that cool, but it's not like, okay, I'm gonna go and...
Oh, that's how I
go
feel
and destroy him.
I look at like the latest Yo Read thing and I'm like, damn, how,
Yeah,
dude? Yeah. I think this is partially why I liked Rob's style so much. Whenever Rob released a preview of anything, I was always amazed. I was always blown back. I think everybody always is whenever Rob previews anything cool, everybody's like, oh my god, how did he do this? Or that thing looks sick, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and I go, I want to give people that same feeling when they look at this thing that I do.
Yeah.
And so I try and come up with alternatives to what that person might do. Like if I'm copying Rob, I try and come up with weird Rob gimmicks that he didn't do but might do.